Yeah, let's watch it.
All-you-can-eat restaurants go hand in hand.
The name of the video is all you can eat restaurants are a nightmare. All right, so to preface this, we have a Golden Corral where I live. We have a couple all you can eat Chinese places and a CC's buffet. I think there's like 3 CC's buffets. I've never gotten sick eating at any of our all you can eat restaurants in my city, but I've heard horror stories about the Chinese all you can eat places. 2 of them, one because it's overpriced and the other because people are always getting sick and it gets a very low. We have this thing in my city called kitchen cops where the food inspectors give their full review of the restaurants to the news, and then the news gives them a score. Like they're like, oh, you gave them this score, and then they tell you what was. One of the Chinese restaurants had like flies, roaches, rats, and like rodent droppings, very easily seen and close to food stations. I won't roast that place because then I'm also doxing myself. The Golden Corral in my city has never had a score over 75. It's passing, but just barely. It's that one kid in your class who sleeps through the whole thing and then asks you if you can copy a few answers so it looks like he did the work. I personally don't mind Golden Corral or any other all-you-can-eat restaurants if they're a good value, but I have an iron stomach, maybe even a steel stomach. I love Taco Bell. Others, not so much. Some people get very sick eating at these all-you-can-eat restaurants, and it's usually because the food isn't always kept properly, not because it's not prepared properly. But let's see what the video is gonna say.
All-you-can-eat restaurants go hand in hand with America.
I love America. Let's fucking go.
Bullet blasters and crumbling highways were the go-to for foreigners to slander us with. But hey, we don't care what anyone else thinks, because while they're eating portions that could barely be qualified as a meal, we're stuffing our faces with a medieval king's dining room's worth of options. Buffets were always an introvert's dream, because besides your waiter coming over to refill glasses and take plates, most places would just have you pay, grab your own food, and leave a tip on the table before you leave. Around my hometown, there were a few buffets that me and my family—
Oh shit, they have a few. Look, they have a hibachi. That's what we have too. Our hibachi people don't get sick, but it's just really overpriced now. Hibachi in my city used to be $11 a person, which was godlike value. Now it's like $15 or $16 a person, which is probably still fine, but the quality of the food is not nearly high enough for it to be that high. Damn, they have multiple hibachis. They have 2. These cities are also not technically. It's not one city. This is like 2 cities. But I mean, those are close enough to be one city in Texas, so you know.
Would try to
I do too.
All of them at one point or another were
do I hate how expensive it is now?
And since the dip in quality,
we don't have a pizza buffet anymore.
And see who's left
kind of fucked up.
But first, cafes I'd go to work at always
don't skip ads. Sorry.
Wi-Fi, but nobody tells you just how easy it is for hackers to tap in and meddle with your information. It's not even that hard to hack people nowadays, because while I'm ordering my coffee, a 12-year-old with some cheap hardware could already have breached through and snagged my data. And it's not even just hackers, because internet service providers and big tech—
My nickname was hibachi.
Eager to get their hands on your information.
Are you also a
That's
cat?
where ExpressVPN comes in, a virtual
dog
network that acts like a secure tunnel for your internet traffic. It encrypts and reroutes your connection through their secure servers, which protects your private information from hackers, data thieves, or anyone just snooping.
Because I was always cooking people on MK.
And
that's
it's
crazy.
not just about security.
Crazy name. I was saying you were getting cooked like a cat or dog, but never mind.
In over 105 countries,
that was the joke.
You can change your virtual location with just a click. Being able to teleport your connection across the world also means you can bypass censorship and access content.
VPNs are really cool for everything outside of fighting games. If you use VPNs to proc that you're in a different country to play against that country and your ping is really high and it fucks up other people, not just you, fuck you, you're a piece of shit and I hate you.
That's normally restricted in your region. Find out how you can get—
I had a friend, a former friend, who lives in Brazil, but would spoof their connection using a VPN so they would fight Americans. Because they love America so much. If you love us so much, please don't fight me with your doo-doo dog butter Brazilian 2-bar connection. Fuck you.
3 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/blink.
This was in delay-based netcode, not rollback, so that's why it was so bad.
Sweet tomatoes, or I guess soup plantation in some states.
Soup plantation is so racist.
Was a health-based
plantation
of fresh salads, soups, baked goods, and desserts. Everything was green and vibrant, and even though you could easily just gorge yourself on bread and overdose on poppy seed dressing, it was a nice novelty restaurant that at least while I was there, was pretty dang alright. At least at my location, you'd walk in and immediately go through a cafeteria-esque line to design the salad of your dreams before paying
I
to
love
enter
salad.
and getting access to the rest of the building. Theoretically, you could make a whole salad just to have your card get declined at the register, or play with all the open food being left out and leave. So I appreciated the place's trust that their clientele would actually respect the place while they're there. Once you'd get past the salad guard, you'd sit down on a stool almost as tall as yourself and munch on all the leaves you gathered earlier. Maybe I'm just misremembering how tall these
I love
stools actually
buffets.
were
Me
because I
too.
was like 15 or something, but I definitely remember some kind of fear of climbing down and falling to my death, and sometimes it would just stop me from getting up to try to grab more food. The rest of Sweet Tomatoes was just lackluster in my opinion. Their soups were mostly water, and everything else tasted like it was sitting out on the counter since yesterday.
And it
Always a
probably
great time
was.
when you bite into a muffin and break some teeth in the process. But hey, if you caught Sweet Tomatoes during a busy hour, then they'd actually be encouraged to make fresh batches of their food.
That is the best time to eat at any buffet. Do not eat at a buffet at off-peak hours. Okay, I understand that maybe you're introverted, that you hate the idea of talking to people, seeing other people, having people smile at you, make eye contact, do that weird side smile shit. Okay, cool. I don't know, wear a fucking blindfold or something. I don't know what to tell you. Wear like a really ugly outfit so that people won't want to look at you. Look homeless. Like, I eat at peak hours, because the trick to all buffets, I don't care which one you go to, the trick is eat at their busiest times, because they're more likely or almost always going to change the food constantly. Be topping it off with fresh, new, good food rather than eating the 5-hour-old food that's been sitting there since the end of the lunch buffet.
Food. All we gotta do is wait for the dinner hour and...
Oh, they don't have dinner?
Where is everybody? So turns out people weren't all that thrilled to pay about the same price for salad and dough when Golden Corral had just as good a salad bar and an endless steak selection just 7 minutes down the street. During the pandemic, regulations on restaurant policies also shot every all-you-can-eat buffet in the kneecap.
Topping off the
People couldn't
troughs,
sit
exactly.
anywhere near each
You get
other. There was a limit for how many customers could be in the building at any time, and masking-conscious visitors stopped dining entirely. Before the pandemic,
Masking conscious visitors. So you mean retards? Okay.
Sweet Tomatoes had around 100 locations.
Okay.
But once the new rules were dropped, they immediately shriveled up and died. A lack of customers meant that waiters weren't getting the tips they'd need to survive, so nobody would want to bust tables. Chefs would rarely make new batches of food, and the variety of options also sucked
limited,
because
yeah.
of the same issues. But if there was one thing the franchise did right, it was in making a bunch of rage bait television ads that I showed to some of my friends to get their reactions.
What did you make? Pasta la pizza, baby.
No fucking.
This might be the worst commercial I've ever seen.
Oh, shot! He said that.
It's hard to get better than that. Surely they don't, right?
Yeah,
like, that
they
was
can't top
11
that.
likes.
How do we feel about this?
That meeting was intense, huh?
I know, but hey, at least Carol? Power move.
What is she doing?
Sweet potato sundae? You've earned it.
She did not earn
Hey.
that.
How do we feel about soft serve on the sweet potato?
Okay.
No,
I thought that was a hash.
Can I just... Why'd they have the black girl do it? Like, what the fuck? What? Okay.
Brown.
No, death now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Please don't put bacon in your ice cream. No! No!
No.
Bacon on everything?
No. What's his name? First and last name.
What? Yeah, I need to know his address. I just gotta talk to him.
Create what you crave.
Okay.
Sweet.
You can make happy faces with your
I
salad.
gotta talk to him.
Anyone can do that anywhere.
Besides that, though, I guess Sweet Tomatoes just isn't so sweet
I
anymore.
gotta talk to him.
God,
I
that
have
sounded
a
so
few
cool in my
questions.
head. I had
I'm
no
gonna stay
idea
paying for that
Pizza Hut
commercial.
was a buffet until my college friends took me out to one in 2018.
Yeah, there used to be some pizza Hut buffets.
Apparently, an all-you-can-eat Pizza Hut gimmick was way more common back in the early 2000s.
there's
when the
tons.
restaurant was really selling its whole dine-in shtick.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind that we all lived in the middle of scenic nowhere, North Carolina. So after just explaining how a lack of customers screws over the whole point of a buffet, why this Pizza Hut was still offering it when all the others stopped was beyond me. Were they doing anything special?
It was to get people to try to come in. The more you get people to come in, the more foot traffic you create, the more likely people are to return as customers when they need to-go pizza, right? So you entice them with the value of the buffet, as they sit there and eat, and then the next time they think about getting pizza, they think, "Oh, I really like Pizza Hut's buffet. I'll just order from Pizza Hut and then go pick it up or get them to deliver it to me." Right? You were using the buffet as a loss leader to attempt to try to create new customers or returning customers.
Special to circumvent it? Nope. 4 rock-hard pizzas were sitting under heating lamps, waiting for a poor unfortunate
Not if the
soul
pizzas
to
are
take
bad.
a bite and get their stomach pumped afterwards. I know that because whenever I'd order chicken topping at any of my other local Pizza Huts, I'd always get food poisoning. So
Pussy.
it's not like any of us were expecting something different, like a priest in the kitchen magically purifying the poultry. I had better common sense than to eat anything here, but my friends did and said they were completely underwhelmed. Thankfully, they also ignored everything with chicken on it like it was their natural human evolved trait to avoid what would obviously kill you. There was unlimited salad and bread as well, but the bread was hard and there weren't any dressings for the salad, so those were basically off the table. Gonna go on a limb here and say the manager of this franchise building never got the memo that Pizza Hut wasn't doing buffets.
I love getting my
It was
stomach pumped. I don't think I've ever
company-wide email.
I don't think I've ever had that happen. I don't think I've ever had my stomach pumped, and I don't think I've ever had like a really bad vomit immediately after eating at a buffet. My worst one was, we have a movie theater where I live called Alamo Draft House. I'm sure it exists other places as well because I'm in Texas. And they are a movie theater that does not just sell popcorn and concessions. They sell whole ass meals. Like, it's like a restaurant mixed with a movie theater. You have like a huge amount of space next to you. Right? Even if you're sitting right next to someone, they're like arm's length away, so that you have enough room for all of your food and your concessions. And the chairs recline back a bunch. Like, you can like lay down like almost in a bed, but you can also sit up and eat at a restaurant table. Okay. And I ordered a mushroom Swiss burger, and I've never had Cinnabistro. Sure, that's a great way to describe it. Cinnabistro. There might be a place called that. Oh, okay, cool. I have never had food leave my body faster. It was like a demon being exorcised by a priest right out of my body. I left the movie theater and immediately had to throw up. The food didn't taste bad. I'm not sure what happened. But immediately upon leaving the movie theater, it had to come up. I will leave it at that so that I do not give you a disgusting visual.
Knew how to use fax machines, it never got to them. And it makes sense why they'd stop promoting buffets, because Pizza Hut is super niche for all you can eat. Besides the salad bar, every other menu option was dough and carbs, pizza, pasta, breadsticks, cinnamon sticks. Salad too, but that's always tacked on to make you feel healthier while you scoop another portion of macaroni and cheese on your plate. The goal is
every time I eat at CC's, I make a salad before I gorge, I don't know, like 15 slices of pizza.
Just to fill you up with as much cheap bread as possible to make sure you can't eat more than the entry fee is worth. On its own, I can't imagine why you'd dine here instead of ordering a large pizza and eating in the luxury of your home, but there was a direct competitor to Pizza Hut that I felt had a gimmick to make their limited buffet actually worth visiting. My parents never let us eat at Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, Chuck E. Cheese.
Probably because my dad couldn't eat gluten, and just like Pizza Hut, basically everything on the menu was bread. But Chuck E. Cheese had the genius idea to pair children's entertainment with food, something that I think massively stretched the value of their buffet. And although COVID would later strike down their dine-in restaurants just as hard as every other buffet across
I think we still have a Chuck E. Cheese in my city.
Planned to keep his buildings up and running until the pandemic died down. Pascali's Pizza and Wings was Chuck E. Cheese's alias on Grubhub.
Yeah, they were a ghost
Advantage
kitchen.
of the kitchens in their restaurants and everyone's need to social distance to deliver pizza and wings.
They were a ghost kitchen. They basically used their buildings as ghost kitchens to create pizza, wings, breadsticks, stuff like that people would want to order that they couldn't go to get. We have one somewhere. Yeah, we do too. I live in a not so small city in Texas, so I'm not surprised that we still have one. We also still have Peter Piper Pizza, which is cool. But because kids exist. As long as kids exist, places like Chuck E. Cheese's, Gaddy. Fuck, I don't think those exist anymore anyway. Dave and Buster's, which is like for adults. That's why Chuck E. Cheese is still around, because kids still exist. If you get rid of all kids, Chuck E. Cheese and Peter Piper's will die off. But so the human race, so you know.
My Patriot palate wasn't gonna tolerate it though. Coupled with the fact that Pascali's animatronic was horrific. I mean, all of their animatronics were, but that's
This is
just
Five Nights at Freddy's. What the fuck?
And that whenever we'd go to Chuck E. Cheese, all of us would wind up sick for weeks, pandemic or not. All of that would just cement that the mouse's house was a no-go zone from then on out. And
where the fuck does he live that every fucking buffet makes him sick? I'm so confused. His video says all you can eat restaurants are a nightmare. He needs a quotation here, or like a bracket in here that says "in my area," because all you can eat restaurants are a nightmare in my area for a different reason: lack of quality control, really bad pricing, or unsanitary conditions. It's usually not because people get sick. Like, I've eaten at every buffet in my city and have not gotten sick. Like I said, steel stomach, maybe even mithril. My smithing level's pretty high in RuneScape. So maybe it's just me anecdotally, but once again, people that I know, friends, family, also eaten at a lot of the buffets in my area and haven't gotten sick. And I don't, maybe it's because I don't live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, but I hope he talks about the value proposition of them as well, because this isn't feeling like a real reason to call all you can eat restaurants a nightmare, because he's only using his anecdotes as being sick when he said his friends ate the pizza and were fine.
And even when the pandemic ended and buffets fully reopened, most of their locations barely even did all you can eat anymore. I guess even though the gimmick of unlimited food and games, unlimited games by the way, seemed goated on the surface, but the success of Pascali's Pizza proved that they could charge as much for access to an entire buffet for only a single pizza and still profit. I'm getting a little agitated over all my favorite restaurant types just ending their buffets entirely, so let's get into some places that are actually still mostly running. Rock and Roll Sushi is an anomaly to the all-you-can-eat space. Starting in Alabama,
Oh, wow.
a state I'd never consider first for a love of rock and roll or
sushi.
The place gave all of its sushi wild names.
I'm sorry.
Like
Did he just show a fucking rice cake with a wiener on it? That's pretty good.
the Metalhead,
Delish.
Cloud Surfer, and Sweet Home Alabama. And
Did not
decorated
name
with
a
rock and roll
sushi
art
Sweet Home
and
Alabama. I'm gonna assume
but
those two
the one
pieces
I'd
of
go
fish
to hit every
were
trace
brother
of
and
it,
sister and they
removing every
fucked.
rock and
I'm
roll
not,
roll
don't name it that.
blasting pop music out of the sound speakers. For $17.99 during dinner, you could grab an endless amount of sushi from their conveyor belts that'd curve around every booth in the buffet.
That's actually
They had
really
a pretty
cool.
immersive amount of rolls to choose from, and also made every American proud by putting sauces on the rolls to enhance the flavor of their otherwise low-quality sushi. I mean, at any other restaurant, 6 quality rolls would cost you the same as eating enough to feed a small village here.
Yeah,
so
$17.99
there's
is pretty
definitely
good.
Something dubious going on. But hey, this was quantity over quality, and even trashy sushi still costs a lot to feed customers. Also, unlike in Japan, where they make little mini-games out of inserting your plates into a machine as a way to win prizes and clear off your table, Rock and Roll Sushi servers would rarely visit your table and force you to stack up obscenely tall towers of plates in the
Jesus!
meantime. My whole family could each absorb
Oh my
30
gosh!
pieces of sushi before passing out, which probably made up for the cost of entry, but would always cause a literal
the f-
mountainside to form
what
out
the
of
fuck
empty
is that?
plates as
The
we tried to
mountain
make room
plates!
for more food on the table. Besides that, the usual issue of carbs kicks back in with the weight gain of consuming almost 2 pounds of rice, but not counting my
Howard.
personal diet's failures, the restaurant is just alright. They also have miso soup, teriyaki, hibachi, spring rolls, the only good option.
They have hibachi? Alright.
Screw up.
And spring
But the lack
rolls?
of rock and roll and my rock and roll sushi killed it on arrival. 0
I love
out of
spring
10,
rolls.
never coming back. If it's not obvious yet, the biggest value of a buffet comes with its variety. Your food could be absolute garbage, but if you have twice the options over a competitor, I might be willing to scarf down a few extra
Is it
pieces
Golden
of
Corral
Burberry
time?
chicken. The ability to sample a million different foods
It's
and
Golden Corral
intricately
time.
design a full course meal on every plate is such a charm. And even though it just encourages people to pig out, that freedom is unmatched anywhere else.
Look, value in picking out makes sense. If you're going to an all-you-can-eat restaurant, you only eat one plate, you wasted your value and should have just gone to a better quality restaurant. Yeah, it's the American thing to do, but it's also the value thing to do. And I am all about my value.
In the restaurant scene. So it's incredible to note that despite everything, my favorite and the biggest buffet on this list is still up and running. Golden Corral's been my family's go-to buffet since I was small. It's got the largest variety,
It has,
the
like,
largest
fucking
dining
everything.
halls, and the largest customers imaginable. The first one appeared in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
and having only
It's
been
from
to
his
once in this
state.
Can bet that this is the best it gets for the franchise. They offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner options based on the time you get there, with admission
Okay, are these recent prices?
franchise. They
That
offer
can't be
breakfast
right? Are those recent I feel like lunch is significantly more than that now. I could be tripping balls, but I feel like it's like $18.99 a person where I live for the classic for the dinner buffet. I think it's like $18.99, and then lunch is $13.99 or $14.99.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner
Those can't be
options based
recent.
on the time you get there, with admission costing more based on how late in the day it gets. I mean, all the other places also do that, I just thought to mention it now, I guess. But anyway, a trick we'd always do would be to waltz right in before lunch would end, so we'd get the lunch price and the entire more luxury dinner menu.
Selection,
And
that's
on
smart.
that dinner menu is the prestigious Golden Corral Steaks, the part of the restaurant that loses them the most money when customers eat it. And
It's the loss
guarded
leader,
by a
baby.
chef who scares off socially anxious customers out of asking for more. Bouncer tactics aside, all the food is usually great when it's not sitting out on a hot plate for hours, which is awesome when you could predict when the place would have customers. Sure, it's the largest buffet around, but that also meant it needed the largest crowds around to keep the food rotating. An occasional plate of stale fried chicken was just one of the setbacks, though. Modern day Golden Corral is nothing like it was a decade ago, and I got new footage to prove it. First of all, one thing that pisses me off is that they flipped all of our soda dispensers to be on the server's side.
Holy
Back in the
shit!
day, you could fill your cup with a drink while waiting to pay and enter. But now you have to pointlessly tell the cashier what drink you want brought to your table. People unfamiliar with Golden
Dude.
Corral might just point out that this is pretty normal restaurant behavior.
It is, because the hibachi near me, and I believe the other Chinese restaurant that's a buffet that people say that they've seen rodent droppings at, they hate it. But it's how it works. Like, the server will be like, yo, what's your drink? And they'll write it down and be like, all right, boom, and they'll slap your ticket on the table, and then they'll go get your drink, and you're just free to go get your food. Right? Or you pay at the front, they give you your cup, and then when your server gets to the table, they give you your drink, and then you free to get your food. But it's, I mean, if the ice cream is still self-served, why the fuck aren't the drinks self-served? The ice cream is still self-served. The last time I went there, which would have been, I don't know, 2 years ago now, the ice cream was still self-served.
But no, because you get to seat yourself wherever you'd like at most places, and your server has no idea what drink you ordered.
Kill me.
You could also just lie and say you ordered a soft drink, which
When you
costs
got a
money
water.
instead of the free water, and most servers won't bat an eye. And while on pointless changes, the silverware definitely lost its edge because one place literally gave our table plastic forks and knives. The
Maybe they don't want you
brand
to
was for their
kill each
go-to
other, I don't know.
service, Golden Corral's solution to the COVID situation. And similar to Chuck E. Cheese, you could order pre-portioned food and have it picked up by a delivery driver and sent to your place. Just to compare though, a single steak off the website costs as much as access to the full buffet. So let that sink in. It's also normal for delivery orders to come with a few plastic spoons and knives because you can't give people metal utensils. But why were dine-in customers being treated the same way? They never were before. The plastic drops the entire in-house experience.
It
and my
also
dad
wastes a
got
lot of
so
plastic.
disturbed with the
As a matter of fact, I just DoorDash Chinese. Hell yeah. That's good. I mean, I hope it's good Chinese food. I am scared of the price of food apps, but the idea of food apps are really cool. Maybe we'll watch a food app video after this.
idea of eating with plastic that he demanded they find.
I think one of the
silverware
YouTubers I
ones
watch
and give us all a
made,
pair.
like, just
The
put one
crazy
out a few
part is
days
that
ago.
The server who went looking came back the first time saying they didn't have metal utensils anymore. But when my dad got even more insistent, they looked even harder and found some deep in the back. In
Wow,
one
they
piece
found
of
some? It's like
paper
they
sleeve,
did not have
seemingly with
them.
The full intent of being used by customers. So turns out they were cutting down on dishwashing by upping their plastic waste instead.
Yeah,
Some other
just
weird
wasting
flaws in the
plastic.
place only became apparent when I went to take some recordings. Like how all the new wall decorations had a weird pixelation going on with their designs. Some of them look like they used stock photos because the pixels are also inconsistent. And the wood borders on all of them are just absolutely awful. I guess compared to the old wall decorations, it's a step up. Because before, they used pictures of families eating in Golden Corral and praising the cheapest menu options like meatloaf and salad.
Let's watch a Destiny 2 beginner video. You're funny.
But
Yeah, that's a
basically,
good
they'd
one.
all stare directly into the camera, making it look like they were always beaming their gaze towards you anywhere you were
shit is
sitting. in the
terrifying. I
restaurant.
don't-
It's horrific.
Please don't
I
show me
remember
that while I'm
the
trying to
choice
eat.
that used to play in the restaurant also being way better back in the day. It was a kind of funky jazz type playlist that really flowed with the relaxed nature of the buffet atmosphere. Now, just like
Okay, he said relaxed nature of the buffet. Maybe I live in a ghetto area, but like every Golden Corral or Sirloin Stockade I've been to in my city, and we've had like 3 different locations for the Golden Corral, and Sirloin Stockade had 2 different locations before it closed. I think it's like gone forever. There was always fighting. Like maybe not every time I went, but I could predict that there would be a fight at least 1 out of like 4 times that I go to a Golden Corral or Sirloin Stockade. So I don't know about chill nature, or maybe I just live in the cut. Maybe that's the problem.
Like every other restaurant, we've regressed to remixes of pop songs, so that's another L there. Do you remember the ice cream flavor stations? Gone! Go enjoy the underwhelming soft serve instead, buddy. And be
Yeah,
happy
we
that
had-
we also
yeah.
removed half of the ice cream toppings. The cheesecake would drive me nuts for how inconsistent the recipe would be across the entire North Carolina triangle for some unknown reason.
didn't even have
That
cheesecake in
chocolate
mine.
fountain that was
Chocolate fountain
advertised
still
all
exists.
over TV as the 8th wonder of the world.
I hit myself in the tooth.
Corral's chocolate wonderfall has been called the 8th wonder of the
We still
world.
had that.
Strawberries, big fudge squares, and more in this non-stop melted perfection.
I beat the shit out of my tooth. That hurt.
But once
Ow.
COVID hit, they completely pulled every fountain because it would recycle the same infected chocolate all day. Also, during most of the even
Uh-oh.
allowed to put food on their own plates anymore, and that social anxiety of talking with the steak chef was now the case with every option on the menu. God, it was like school cafeterias all over again. Then, as a smaller wound, the Asian grill at my local corral got completely cut, removing some random bell pepper dishes which I'm sure nobody really cared about. Although Golden Corral's kinda bounced back since COVID, there's battle scars all over these buildings. At least they still do all you can eat though, and in the wake of every other franchise changing tactics, they hold the monopoly on a dying restaurant style and are still just doing alright. Having recently moved out of North Carolina though, and with the nearest corral more than an hour away, this might be the last time I set foot into one of these buildings.
An
Even
hour
with all
for
these buffets
where the fuck did he
flawed,
move
though, I
to?
wouldn't trade them for the world. Because at the end of the day, they embody the American dream of overconsumption and diminished quality. Sometimes you just want a trough full of slop, and I'll be these places' loyal little piggy until they kick me out at closing time. Blaine, never simple, and remember to chew before you swallow.
That was fun. That was a fun video. I'm more scared that this guy's got a bitch made stomach than like all you can eat restaurants being terrible. Like anecdotally, in my experience, a lot of them are just bad value now, right? Because they fill you up on food that for the most part isn't very high quality, and it costs about as much as a quality meal. So you could probably get a quality meal that maybe wouldn't fill you up as much, but you'd have better tasting food, right? Like I could like go numb on some Chili's. Like say I took me and the wife out to Chili's, we could spend like $40 at Chili's, $45 plus a tip, and get way higher quality food, or we could spend $45 or $40 no tip because of the price of drinks and the price of the buffet and eat slightly more food, but the food be significantly worse quality. So like I have like a recent probably receipt too from Chili's. I think I spent like $50. And if I had to choose between spending $50 at Chili's for two people or spending $35 to $40 at Golden Corral, I'm going to choose those at Chili's, right? Because the food is just better. If he talked about the value proposition rather than just like the food not always being great and hurting his little sad tummy, I would have liked this video a lot more. But it was put together very well. That's the one thing I can say about it.